Welcome to the second session of the day. Our panel discussion is going to unlock what it takes to succeed as a creative professional. And joining us, we have three fantastic people from the industry. Let me start with a quick round of introductions, starting with the gentleman on my left, Abhishek. Abhishek is the co-founder of Designland. Incidentally, he also works with Deloitte as in the field of UX design. I'll ask him to introduce himself and tell you a little bit more about what he's been doing. Then we have Samir from Zombie Fox Studios. Samir and I go back some way. I was 2 years ago in Hyderabad. We hosted a fantastic panel discussion on game design, and Samir was part of that panel. So we're delighted to welcome Samir back to the expo. And then we have Shilpa. Shilpa is with Outscape Studio. It's a firm that she founded, and she is the principal landscape architect there. And again, we will request all our speakers to tell you a little bit more about themselves. So let's get going. And I thought a fantastic way for us to kind of get started is to request each of you, if you don't mind, just to give a quick, brief introduction about yourself, a little bit about your background and your career for the benefit of the students.
Hi everyone. First of all, thank you for coming, and thank you, Amit, for hosting this wonderful event for all of you. So, my name is Abhishek, as Amit said, as my parents kept my name. So, I'm a UX designer currently working full time at Deloitte, and I'm also a co founder of Designland. So, what Designland is, it's a small community of designers with approximately 5,000 plus designers across India. So we do events, workshops, meetups, uh, and all the fun stuff that a designer should do. So a little bit about my background. So I'm not from a design background. So I come from an engineering background, made a lot of mistakes in my life, and then landed into design. So it's been close to 7 years now into design. Uh, Previously, I was working with Indian Council of Agricultural Research as a UX designer, and currently here in Hyderabad working with Deloitte. So I think that's a little introduction about myself, and I'll now pass it on to Samir.
Hey guys, my name is Samir. I'm a game designer. I primarily work out of Hyderabad. I've been in the field for 10 years now. I work on video games with a variety of studios. One of them is Zombie Fox. We are releasing a game called Lancelot. It's on Steam right now. You can check it out for those of you who know what Steam is. I also work with another company in Hyderabad called Born Monkey. You should also check them out. They're doing some really cool stuff. And I also have a game of mine coming out in the next year or so. All right, passing on the mic.
Hi everyone, I'm Shilpa. So basically, I'm a principal landscape architect, and I founded my studio, Outscape Studio, in 2020. So I'm a full-time architect actually with Atkins Release, Atkins Global Company. Basically, they do APAC and Middle Eastern projects, and I do my Outscape Studio, basically boutique projects here, based out of Hyderabad. So I did my bachelor's in Hyderabad in JNF University, and I did my master's from Australia, Deakin. So I hope most of y'all are aware about architecture, what the background is and all. So yeah, let's have some fun and interactive session. I will not bore you more with that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for those lovely introductions. Yeah, fantastic. So, if some of you are wondering how come we have people from different domains, let me say that it was a very intentional move. So here we have someone from game design, UX design, and architecture, and the idea is to really talk and bring multiple perspectives to the table. So that's what we're going to try and do in the course of this discussion, and in that process, I hope you will learn something meaningful and good, right? So my first question to the panel, and just by the by, that mic is also active, so do share that as well. So my first question for the panel, Shilpa, maybe I can request you to start first. How has your education, and your experiences shaped you as a professional?
Hello. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for the question, Amit, and also thank you for hosting us. So yeah, I did my bachelor's in architecture in 2004. I had started. So most of you all must be aware that it's a 5-year course. So it has all the subjects like basic design, architectural design, structures, and architectural history. So all that laid a foundation for my research and database studies. So then, including that, there are drawings and then technical skills development in the same course. So we had softwares like AutoCAD, SketchUp, and all. Back then, when I was pursuing architecture, we used to do a lot of manual work. Like we used to draft manually. Now their softwares have replaced. So then sketching was a major part. So we used to sketch and all that. So all these technical skills and a mix of research and sciences have helped basically for me to go through this. My first experience, work experience, was a internship when I was in my sixth semester. So I was in a firm where I did a bit of support for the interior designers, and it was a construction company where they used to do authority submissions. So I used to see from them and learn, observe what they are doing for authority submission, basically for building permits in Hyderabad. So that shaped for me to look at my seniors, observe and learn how to put it in practice. So when I was doing my final year internship in the practical training in my final year, that's when these experiences what I have taken as an internship in my third year helped me. And I started off as an interior and an architectural practice designer, but then over a time I have developed interest into landscape. And yeah, we used to go to sites. So site, we work on site and collaborate with a multidisciplinary team like consultants or carpenters or the fall ceiling experts. Then there are lighting and the lighting and other consultants as well, with whom we speak, coordinate, and collaborate. So this actually helped me to know a different people, and I think it was advantageous to even know the local language. So we used to converse with them and then with the clients as well. So all these experiences have like built upon my credit. And yeah, like I worked many years before actually pursuing my masters, which I've done in Australia. Then I have developed an interest in urban design and landscape architecture. And then yeah, the same multidisciplinary collaborations and all that we do. So mostly what we did in Hyderabad was the projects, the 5 years when I was working for Telangana government, just before I was working for this Middle Eastern company. So we were actually actively working in the COVID time. So 2019 end and 2020 start was when COVID has actually struck, right? So the whole, I think, city was in lockdown, and we, a team of young architects, myself and some colleagues alongside, we were on roads. Basically, the whole thing was locked, and we had permits to go around, and we went to these different urban parks. There are a couple of them I would like to name, some Amberbet, Kalan, and urban parks around the outer ring road of Hyderabad. So we were actually developing all those, the cycling track, and which from Nanakramgura to Kokapet, then the pedestrian streets and all that, which the recent developments which we've seen post COVID after the lockdown has opened up. So we were with our high officials actually working on site hard. Like it was a hard work when everyone was in lockdown. We were working very actively to develop all these infrastructure 5 years, 4 years back. Yeah. So
Yeah, hats off to the Telangana government. You know, they said, okay, people are indoors. Let's call the landscape designers now and let them design everything properly without any disruptions and commotion.
yeah.
It was a very good move.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And it was good, and it was very empowering actually to have that, and the trust, that the faith that they had in us, that we could come up with some interesting projects. And there was an ecotourism project also which is coming, I think, Kotwal Guda, which is currently or going to be inaugurated soon. So all these were actually developed in that time. And so, yeah, it was very interesting to actually work in such challenging times to bring, for the public such good and interesting parks and lung spaces, because it goes way early. Like, all these, the reason for all this development is because climate change and all these are issues which are real nowadays. So landscape becomes very important in these times to, conserving our forests or these lung spaces. So landscape and urban design play a very major role to, shape the future of our cities in terms of what we are, like, laying a foundation for a future for climate change and how we are addressing all that. So landscape architecture is basically a study of all that. Like, you are thinking 5 years before for what future you want in 10 or 30 years. So we lay out action plans now for 30 years, like how you want your cities and your states or your country to be, like on what foundation, like the biodiversity or the, heat wise, or a comfortable city where you all can commute safely at night for women and for children as well. So that's what landscape architecture is also about. So if anyone has questions, I would really, I mean, during the question answer round, I would really love to answer those.
Sure. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for that. Sameer, I'd love to hear from you in terms of your varied experiences in game design and a little bit about your education. How has that really helped you develop professionally?
Yeah, sure thing. So I've had a pretty non-standard education. So before I start, I'd like to just let you guys know, in my long and varied career, the best game designers, developers, and artists I've met have both completed their education in a bachelor's and master's, and people who have left from the 12th grade onwards. Okay. So you have to understand that doing your senior education or not doing it doesn't really matter in my experience, and it just depends on what kind of a person you are. Right now, if you like the structured learning and environment of a college, right, that's the great. Go join a college, do your bachelor's, do your master's. In my case, I like a more hands-on approach. I feel like actually doing the thing will teach you more than ever learning about it, right? So like I said, I know people who have finished their college education. I know people who haven't started it. I'm somewhere in the middle. You guys might know SCAD. I think they're here recruiting people here. 13 years ago, I was here right where you guys are, and I decided to join SCAD on a scholarship. Okay. SCAD was one of the most creatively and fulfilling structured educational systems I've ever been in. And I left after a year and I never looked back. Okay. But this just depends on what kind of a person you are, right? I just wanted to get into the field and start making games as soon as possible. That was all that really is to it. Apart from education itself, college offers a few unique benefits, mainly the sense of community. Right. As a game designer, I'm interested in games. And I don't know how it is nowadays, but back in the day, you found very few people who played games, right? It wasn't really part of the cultural zeitgeist. Right. Nowadays, I think you're a weirdo if you don't know what games are, right? But it was completely flipped when I started. And one of the most fulfilling experiences of being in college is that you met a community of people just like you, right? I was maybe one of the two people in my class who played games, and suddenly I'm thrust into an environment where there are hundreds of people just like me. That itself is very creatively fulfilling and can really help you in your career, education aside, right? But again, I did not choose that. I left after a year. And even if you're not in college, there are plenty of opportunities to find like-minded people. For example, my fellow panelist here started a thing called Design Land, right? Where you can meet fellow designers. In Hyderabad right now, if you are a game developer or a game designer looking for a community, we ourselves have started one called the Hyderabad Game Developers Guild. So it's not like you don't have access to these resources nowadays, right? So I think either way is absolutely fine. If you're looking to join a very big company, you don't have to worry too much there as well, because the fallacy of having a degree is no longer a thing. People are just looking at your portfolio, right? So if you learn if you learn the requisite skills and you're actually skilled at your job and you create a great portfolio, no one cares what your degree looks like. In the same sense, the degree doesn't hurt, right? So always look at what you're trying to do. For example, with SCAD, it was relatively expensive at the time. So I spent the extra added energy to take a year off after my 12th to really develop my portfolio. And I got a full ride scholarship to SCAD, right? So just look at what you want to do, what is your current situation, and make an informed guess. What I want to tell you is that either way you choose is not going to matter. There are going to be more important factors. Your desire to be in this industry, your desire to learn by yourself, right? Your ability to listen to your peers and better yourself. There are definitely bigger factors than just a degree, and you require a different skill set whether or not you're in college. All right. Yeah. I'm going to hand it over to the next panelist.
Sure. Thanks so much for that, Samir. Some really good points.
I think I very much resonate with Samir, and I'm the one weirdo who does not play games and all. So, so my education and experience is like totally different. As like Samir said, it doesn't matter from where you are coming, but it depends on how you are as a person. So after schooling, I had no idea, no vision, nothing. Everyone was doing engineering, so I did engineering. I went, I went ahead, got admission, started doing that. Spent 4 years without any vision, just unfocused. Completed that, got a job. Like I started working as a network engineer with Wipro, so got my first job there in Delhi. Started working, didn't like it. Did for almost 6 7 months and left it. Again, as unfocused I was, I I had no money to survive in Delhi, so I just joined the BPO to just have something in my bank account. Started working there, worked there for almost 5 6 months again. Then again left the job because not I was not liking it, because that was not I was intended I was intending to do for the rest of my life. Then again, shortage of money, again joined another BPO because that was easy money. So that happened. Like that almost happened for around 2.5 years. I did all of these things, uh, and then finally had like that enlightenment that okay, now I should stop doing all of these things and start thinking seriously because you're getting old. So just quit, gave time to myself, started exploring my options, looking at what I can do. Then came across design. Coming from a small town, so I come from a small town in UP called Bareilly, if you might have heard of it. So I had no exposure to all of these courses and stuff. Ki, okay, design can be pursued as a career also. Design for my parents was just biology diagrams, bus. That was it. So I had no idea that okay, I can make money out of design also. So then, after spending those 2.5 years randomly here and there, I came across something that actually looked very exciting to me. So I am very much of a social person. I want to go and deep dive into all of these things, why these things are happening, how they are happening. So I thought, ki, okay, design is something which I can relate to very much. So I started learning that by myself. So I'm a self-taught designer. Started learning that, and then like finally got a job with Indian Council of Agricultural Research back in Delhi. Worked there for almost close to 3 years. Then during COVID, moved to Deloitte. All of these things happened. So the whole point, like to the question that Amit asked, what were the learnings from those and how did it shape the whole professional journey? So the first job that I did was with Wipro. So it was for a US client, and even though I was from an ICSC board school, I never spoke English because nahi, koi nahi bolta wahan pe. So when I got into that environment, I was forced to speak. I was forced to communicate. So I learned in those 5 months. I hated my job, but I learned how to communicate, how to write emails, how to reply to someone. That was something that I learned from my first job. Then next job, I was working with a BPO. So when I was talking to customers, you cannot just straight away say कि नहीं होगा, अपने घर जाओ, नहीं हो सकता. You cannot say. You have to be very empathetic. And that was something that I learned from there. And now as a designer, everyone says you have to be empathetic. But what does that mean? So I learned it from there. I was not empathetic at all. If someone was saying ki, how my refund is not processed or anything like that, I was like, ki, how is it my mistake? I'm not running the company. But yeah, after working there, got to know ki, okay, you have to listen and then understand and then reply. So all of these little mistakes taught me a lot of things that actually now I use in my day-to-day life, my work, even while running the community, anything and everything. So I think all of these failures that I had actually like helped me grow. And you might not see the result immediately, but in the long run, you will definitely see what it can shape up to. So yeah, that's
Awesome. I think some really good insights have come out from just what we've discussed, and it's important for us as students to realize a few things. For example, life is not exactly linear. We tend to think of life as one straight line that's going to go in this direction and progress at an angle of 45 degrees and stay on. Nope. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs, and you may start your career thinking I'm going to do this, but very well you may little later in your life go and do something else, and that is okay. Every experience adds value to you. Everything that you go through has a larger purpose in life. Trust that the process of life has got your back, and that something good is going to work out, right? It's so easy to get dejected. It's so easy to feel negative. I mean, imagine, Abhishek said that I was not sure what I wanted to do, but it's such an important thing that sometimes knowing what you don't want to do can guide you to what you want to do. So, it's not important to have a game plan which is completely crystal clear. Just trust your gut instinct more than anything else. Before we move on to other questions, I just had a query on Designland. So, what really thought that made you think that I should build a community of designers? And while you're talking about that, could you also tell us if students have any way of interacting with the community? If you could just tell us about that.
sure. So the whole idea of starting Designland was from the whole experience that we had. So like my co-founder Sanjay, he's also here. So
Raise your hand, Sanjay. Thanks for being here.
so we both so I mentor design aspirants professionals also. So we are not friends, we are not college friends or office buddies or anything. We met at a meetup only, at a design meetup that was happening. So I'm a very social person. I like to go out, meet new people, because I don't have that perspective, I don't have that education. So where will I get that learnings from? I get from other people who are actually practicing that from way before than me.
Right.
So that was the whole reason I used to go out, meet people, connect with them, and met Sanjay there. So we both had a very similar journey. He also uh, did engineering, then he studied design. But so we had like this transition. We mentor design aspirants and professionals also. So at that time when we were doing it, there was no such Instagram content creators or YouTube videos out there who can tell you to learn Figma in 10 days or learn design.
And you need more than 10
Yeah.
years to learn Figma.
Yeah.
Or at least get good at it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, you cannot learn design in just 15 days or in 200 rupees. You cannot do that.
Right.
So we are still learning, and we don't know what we have learned so far. So it's an ongoing process. So the whole idea came from that we should have something where there is no entry barrier. It's free, it's open to all, and where people can connect with each other. So we have in our community, we have professionals, design leaders with 25, 26, 30, 40 years of experience who are working in this field. There are freshers, there are professionals who are just 1, 2 years of experience also. There are students also who are trying to get into. We have like 8, 9, 10 class students also in the community. So there is everyone, and they interact with each and everyone. So there, as I said, there is no entry barrier or there is no restriction. So we have like different groups wherein people can talk about design, research, or different aspect. They can ask for help. They can ask for portfolio reviews or anything they want help with. So the whole idea was to keep it very open, and all the events, meetups that we do are also of that sort, just to make it very accessible to everyone. So if you might know that like design conferences and stuff, they are very expensive. If you might have seen, okay, it ranges from 30K or 40K, 45K. Like as a professional working in the industry, I will not pay that much amount. And how can a student pay? So we decided that let's make it very accessible. Maybe if we are keeping some commitment fee, it will be 100 rupees. That's it. Not more than that.
And actually,
Maybe
that helps,
100.
you know, because
Yeah.
people take it a little bit more seriously. If
That's
it's completely
just,
free,
just for that matter.
you take it for
Yeah.
granted.
Just for that matter, okay, let's have small commitment fee if we are having. Most of the time, it's free only. And we have like leaders coming in from Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Salesforce, each and every big company you can name of big design studios, big entrepreneurs, everyone. So, and yes, to your second part, that anyone can access it. It's like the community is on WhatsApp. So we have like a WhatsApp community which has like different sections for design, jobs, internships, each and everything, mentorships and networking also. And also we have like our socials on Instagram and LinkedIn where we are active. So you guys can connect anytime. You can connect
Fantastic.
with anyone. And yes, everyone is welcome. And we want to create this uh, community where people feel that it's theirs. It's not ours. We are just the mediators. It's everyone's. We don't, in our community, if you'll join, you'll see that we don't talk so much. People talk amongst themselves. They are driving it. We are not, we are just sitting and watching all the messages on our phone. That's it.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm so happy that something like this is there. You know, that students can actually use to seek advice, but also sometimes seek internships. Because honestly, when, as Samir said, getting a chance to apply your knowledge is so important. Learning while doing is so important, and going beyond theory. So, Samir, since you're talking about that, I just want you to perhaps just touch upon some of the trends that you're seeing, and please, I'll request all of you to answer that. Trends that you're seeing in your domain. So please answer that from the perspective of your industry in your domain.
Sure thing. I would love to answer that. Right before that, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the community aspect of things.
Sure.
You guys have, like, I see a lot of young guys here, especially because you're all in school uniforms. I'm assuming there's 11th, 12th, some people just starting college. A lot of you have a lot of questions. What do I do? Where do I apply? Who do I talk to? What do I learn? You have to realize we were here 10 years ago, right? And the reason we probably started communities, I don't want to speak for you, but it's because we didn't have these kinds of places where we could ask people these things, which is why I'm not trying to sell you a course for $10 a month. Like, I'm genuinely trying to create a community where you guys, especially the younger guys, can come and talk to people like us who have been in the industry and have your questions answered. So I'll talk a little bit about the trends right now, but if you guys have any questions, join these communities, talk to these people. Like he said, there's no upfront fee. There's nothing we're trying to sell you here. We're just trying to create a community where people can just ask their questions and get a little bit of guidance, right? Now, to talk about the trends, you have to understand that at least in the games industry, it's always been rapid fire, right? Things change every year, and it's only been getting faster and faster as the years go by. Technologies show up, right? There's this thing called Unreal Engine, which allows much smaller teams to work at the capacity of 100-team studio, right? Obviously, there's AI, and how do you use that? But the tools are also getting stronger and stronger and stronger, right? So you have to unshackle yourself from whatever the old teachings are, which is another issue I have with college, because these courses are not updated as quickly as I would like, right? You are learning stuff from 5 years ago. The industry has changed since then, right? So you can use that for your fundamentals, but you still have to do a lot of research by yourself to stay competitive in these fields.
Oh, absolutely. And such a valid point, you know. So I think across the board, many people in the industry feel that there's a gap between what you learn in school or college versus what people need in the industry. So taking some additional steps, like, you know, getting internships, interacting with people in this industry, joining communities, learning and following thought leaders rather than, influencers who are just saying stuff which sounds cool or controversial, but really following thought leaders can really make a big difference in your life. Shilpa, please tell us about some of the trends that you're seeing in your space.
Yeah. So AI and VR actually are something which is really trending nowadays, even in architecture. So, whatever softwares, the technical softwares which we work on to develop a plan, master plan, or a rendering of or a 3D design or something. So AI and VR, we are using that in currently very actively, as so that we have a very good projects. But like Samir said, I completely agree. You may have a lot of AI tools, and you may worry about these tools replacing your job, but again, without the research, the background, and your experience, even AI cannot do much. So, to use AI and Chat GPT and all these prompts properly and at, to your use, you need to have all that background. So, a lot of research and your self effort makes a lot of difference when you're using these tools as well. So these are some things which are trending currently, even in architecture. But then again, going back to old school, like I spoke about climate change and biodiversity. So these are the trends in theory which are coming. So these are real problems which we are facing currently on global level, which we are actively addressing. So something like therapeutic gardens or sensory gardens, where especially post covid, when there was a situation where people like were very hardly hit with such diseases. So what we did was reintroduce all these concepts of sensory gardens and therapeutic gardens, where naturally these means or these uh, trees and these mitigation measures are taken, so that these places become more livable for everyone. So health and well-being is very important nowadays. Everybody is falling sick just like that. They are virals and all that. So I think those are, I mean, coming back as trends, but again, old school, all those old school concepts, which we are going back to living as, how we used to live in the earlier days, good earlier days. So concepts are old, but AI is new. With all that old and new, uh, we are integrating all to, coming up with solutions, so that we have much better infrastructure for all the people and everyone who will be using this. Yeah.
Interesting. You're talking about old and new coming together
Yes,
in
yes,
unique
yes.
ways.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Abhishek, why don't you tell us about some of the trends you're seeing in UX design? I mean, uh, does everyone in the audience, is everyone in the audience completely familiar as to what UX design is? Can we have a quick show of hands? Okay, there's very few hands going up. So first, just explain a little bit about what UX design is and then the trends that you're seeing.
Yeah. Uh, I thought like UX was a buzzword, but it's fine. So, see, UX is basically user experience design. And right now in the market, it's more focused on the digital product, and it's very much aligned to all the applications or websites. But in general, if we talk, it's everywhere. So, user experience design is designing an experience for our user. So, if we were coming from the main door to here, if your experience was good, so it is a good UX. If you found it difficult to reach this hall, it was bad UX, right? So there is a designer behind each and everything that we do, each and everything that we interact with. But this UX design term that we generally hear is mostly focused nowadays to the digital products like applications and websites that we use. So uh, UX is that, and the experience that you have while interacting with that application when you buy something on Myntra, Amazon, when you view products, when you look for recommendations there, all of these comes under that umbrella of UX. So there are user interface design, interaction design, all of these different things that comes under this. So the emerging trends, I would say, first definitely that is everywhere. Everyone talks about it, like that is AI. I'm not a very big fan of AI, but still, like we have to be very adaptable to whatever comes right? How many of us use AI to do our assignments and stuff? Very nice, very nice. Yeah, so that's the beauty of
No
it.
teachers in the room, no? Okay, okay. All right. No one saw that. It's all good. Okay. I'm sorry you saw that, man.
Sorry, sorry.
So I just want to ask the teacher, do you all actually encourage using AI or no? Oh, okay.
All right.
They
Okay.
might have plagiarism checkers,
Right. Yeah.
for that. So yeah, like it has made our life a little bit easier. Earlier in our days, we used to just eat each of us, like work together, eat everyone's head, and then do that assignment. So now it's easier for us to do that. Like at least we get an idea of what we want to do. Similarly, in design, if we want to make something, if we want to work on something, we get a structure out of it. Okay, it gives us some insights, some research, and you use it in your own advantage. So fearing that, obviously, as Samir and Shilpa said, that's no point. Humans only made AI, right? So how can it outrun us? So using it to our advantage, definitely. If you fear that, don't fear that. It's not gonna take anyone's job. If you are like adaptable at that level. Next one, in a digital space currently is something around inclusivity and accessibility. That is something that is very in trend. However, it should not be a trend. It should be like a very basic thing that should be incorporated in each and every decision of ours. But because in India we don't have such rules and regulations around accessibility, so like, do we all know what accessibility is? So see, the basic meaning of term accessibility is that it should be accessible, and accessible, it's easy to use. Okay, and with this we want to make it accessible to each and every one of us. So people with different abilities, right? People with different uh what do you get, special abilities that they have. So we as designers, maybe if we don't have any disabilities, we think okay, it's fine for us, so it's fine for everyone. But that is something that should be considered while designing. So that is something that is now each and every organization, every studio, every product is taking into consideration that okay, our product should be used by each and every one of us. So if I'm colorblind, how will I see red and green? Right? So there should be a way for me to judge कि देख यहाँ पे button है या यहाँ पे link है, like whatever it is. Very simple examples, right? So that's how the market is evolving in US and outside countries. They have rules and regulations. If you don't follow those, you are under compliance. But here in India, we don't have those regulations right now. But still, now we are practicing it more. We are taking up that pace. So I think that is some trend that is picking up the pace. And lastly is definitely, so you might think that how digital products can relate to our environment, but sustainability is also something that is something to be taken care of. So all of the products that we build, they take up some space on the servers, which generate carbon dioxide and stuff, right? So nowadays, like we have to think of that. With all of these global warming, you might also be feeling the heat in March in Hyderabad. So it's all because of all of the global warming that's happening. So I think these are few things that are majorly trending, and definitely tools come and go. So those will be never evolving. We've moved from Photoshop to Sketch to XD to Figma, and now there are a lot of other tools also helping. So that's it. Yep.
Awesome. I think that was a good recap, and thank you for that. And there's one more topic I want us to touch upon because, in the audience here, we have people who might want to specialize in different areas of design. So, product design, interior, fashion design, game design, animation, UX design. So, the question is that what kind of skills and or attitudes and mindsets, rather, not skills, but attitudes and mindsets that will really help people to do well. And we have one more small section coming up. So just give us a slightly brief response on that. So why did you start, Abhishek?
For me, I think first is be curious. You'll have to be very curious what's happening around. Then only you'll come to know and learn about the things that are happening and why they are happening. So I think first is that, and second for me is uh, take risks. Never fear failing. Even if you fail, you will learn something or the other. We might think that okay, uh, we reject ourselves even before we get rejections from the other side. So don't do that. Be very don't be afraid of failures. Take risks and be curious. So that's for a designer, that's the base of each and everything that we do. Explore each and everything, observe each and everything, ask questions. Don't fear to ask questions. Also, ask for help. I think that those are 3-4 points that I have.
Yeah,
And
Samir, please.
Sure thing. Yeah. So you mentioned a lot of fields there. The commonality there is that they're all creative fields. So let's just see a gauge of interest. How many of you are interested in joining a creative field? How many of you want to become creatives? Okay, great. Then one of the biggest issues with the creative field is working within your constraints, right? Because unbridled creativity is not a thing unless it's your company and you're funding it. Then have at it, right? What a ball. But generally, you're working under a lot of constraints, whether or not there are other creative constraints from people above you, whether they're budgetary constraints, whether there are constraints of your team ability, your team size, the window in which you need to deliver a product, right? So you have to understand that at first, when you start out, all these constraints are going to feel very inhibitive to your creativity. And the most vital skill you're going to have to learn is how to work around constraints. And then when you get better at it, your constraints actually become the defining factors of your product, right? The constraints, ideally, if you are employing creativity correctly, right? No one, when they look at your product, will ever see a constraint. They will see a very nuanced design decision, right? So that is the one thing you're going to have to deal with. In fact, eventually an empty book is going to be very terrifying because you're going to be like, where are my constraints? Where are the rules I can work with? And that's actually a good sign. The other thing, like has already been said, is curiosity, right? This again relates back to AI, right? AI cannot be curious. The only way you can improve on anything is by curiosity in the first place. Why does it exist like this? How can I make it better? Right? So curiosity, you need to keep that alive no matter how it is. And the other thing that has also been mentioned that I just want to hammer home is that any creative field is full of failure. Failure will define your career. The point is to continue past that, right? You can fail once, you can fail 10 times, you can fail 100 times. Does not matter. It will always be a learning experience. Your next problem, you are a better designer or creative for it. So don't worry about failing when you start off. It is not an issue. It is a feature, not a bug. Okay. And I think my last point would be creativity in any creative field. You need to draw from a lot of resources. I'm a game designer. I don't just play games. If I want a good story, I don't look at games, I read books. If I want a good visual experience, I don't look at games, I watch movies or TV shows. If I want to understand the power of sound and how sound affects people, I don't play games, I listen to music, right? So as a creative, I don't know how applicable this is in other fields, but try to have at least a passing interest in every other creative field because you can draw from that knowledge to whatever specific problem you're facing at the time. Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. I think you really covered some very interesting points. Shilpa, please.
Yeah, like Abhishek and Samir have already covered.
Yeah, it's always tougher going last, right?
Yeah. See, basically, shouldn't be afraid of failures. If you need help, ask. There's no need to be, like stuck. It's like a learning experience. You get to learn more from that. And yeah, curiosity also, like they said. Other than that, I would really recommend being disciplined because procrastination nowadays also is a very real thing. So there will be days when you are clueless what your are you going in a right direction or no. So this leads to a lot of procrastination. So what do you do in that time? Practice mindfulness. and maybe something, anything which works for you. For some, it will be games. For some, it will be going outdoors and playing. I would really encourage everybody to be, in active, physical activities and all. So these actually open up your mind. So, and if you have a routine, if you practice a certain discipline towards your goal, I think you should be good to go. And have a strong support system, I think, in times of failures, in times of whenever you're clueless and all that, discipline and this support system really helps. So it can be anybody, it can be your family, it can be your parents, it can be your friends. So no matter how evolved our the AI or the technical or these digital aspects have become, these will always remain. Have somebody to fall back on or speak to, interact with your friends, just you know go about, live like like the old school days, or have fun with your friends and all. So that, I think, will bring back, that is also a creative process. So yeah, that's what would my
Awesome.
suggestion be.
Awesome. I think we covered some really interesting ground, and now we're going to move to a really interesting part of the discussion, which is a quick fire round. And here I'd like you to give single word responses. Okay. So let's make this quick, right? Otherwise, it won't live up to its name. And to be fair, everyone should get a chance to go first. So for the first question, Abhishek, maybe you can go first. For the second one, Samir, and for the third one, Shilpa, right? Okay. Now, my first question to you is, Abhishek, if you're looking to hire someone, completely fresh, what's the most important thing, that you look for?
I think the attitude.
Okay.
The first thing I look for if I'm hiring someone,
Yes.
tenaciousness, I would say.
Okay.
If you need a definition for that word, is someone who's willing to figure things out by themselves.
Right. Awesome.
Is it one word?
Yeah, one word, because we have more questions.
Yeah. I mean, a learner, somebody who's curious to learn. I would look for somebody like that.
Very good. So attitude, curiosity, and tenacity. Fantastic. Okay. So, Samir, this one's for you. What's the biggest misconception that people have about creative careers?
That they're easy.
So true. Shilpa. Okay, we'll come back. Abhishek.
I think the misconception is they think that we have that freedom.
Okay, very true. The client has the final word. Yeah, and of course, the client's approval is also one of the constraints. Shilpa, have you got something to share?
There are many, actually. I
Okay.
can't find a word.
Okay, no problem. All right. Shilpa, you can go first. Now, let's say you're facing a problem and you need to fix it. So, in your mind, what is more important, when you're trying to fix something? Is it the people or the process?
I think I'd fix myself first, like what's going on in my head. So
Okay.
when there is clarity here, I'm very sure that will go right on the paper. So mental clarity, I think that's very important. First step.
Sure. Abhishek?
I think I run away. So I think the process. Yep.
Nice.
Are the only answers people or process?
Well, yeah, but if you want to bring another, piece into the pie, why not?
Yeah, the answer is research.
Okay.
It's rarely a unique problem. Someone's already faced this and solved it. Do your research.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. So now, Abhishek, you can go again. Okay. What skill or what attribute do you value most in yourself?
That's a tough one. I think observation. So I observe a lot,
So important, as a
So
UX
important.
designer
Yeah.
also.
So-
Yeah.
and I think I'm an overthinker also. So that combines and gives a lot of different perspectives.
Okay.
Yeah, my answer is going to be slightly dramatic. It's resilience, because this field was very tough to get into because it was non-existent when I started.
Right. Shilpa?
I think I'd go for ethics.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. Samir, this one, you've got answer first. Okay. What's the biggest mistake a person can make in an interview?
Trying to pretend that they know things. Because if you're in an interview, you're already a junior to me. If I'm taking your interview, I am very okay with you guys not knowing things. I am not okay with you guys pretending you do.
Shilpa.
I think not asking back questions to the employer. I mean, you are allowed to ask. You can ask anything. I mean, obviously within the constraints or the norms, but yeah, you should ask the good employer. That will show an interest that, okay, yeah, this person is interested to join the organization. Yeah.
Great.
I think my answer would be same as Samir's, like the know-it-all attitude.
Mhm.
We don't like.
So as an interviewer, you can see through it.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
Okay. So, Shilpa, this is something that you got to answer first. And this is also very interesting. So, let's say you could sit in a time machine, go back in time, and tell your younger self something. What would you tell your younger self?
I'd say take it easy. Don't get worked up. Everything is going to fall into place.
Fantastic.
Everything works out. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think I would say don't do engineering. That would be for me.
That's very interesting. I would say do engineering to myself. And also a little bit of what Shilpa said, it's a marathon, not a race. Take it easy.
Fantastic. Before we open the floor to a Q&A session, let's give our panel a big round of applause.